Here's a tale of two mergers. Australian company Galanos Foods was purchased by Pegden Limited, a large New Zealand company. As part of the business case for the acquisition to both boards, significant cost savings were to be realised, along with growing Galanos' seafood export business, a market which Pegden did not have access to. The first action Pegden took was to establish an implementation working group to oversee the strategic changes. The CEO headed this group, which met weekly and relocated temporarily to Australia to attend every meeting. The working group had 7 other members, 4 of which were from Galanos, even though they were the smaller company being taken over. Each working group member represented key functional areas of the merged organisation. They were required to present a full project plan of activities that was to be implemented with agreed timeframes. The initial timeframes and operational resources were formulated after senior managers ran a series of workshops with their teams. Each working group member was also required to update each week on the communication plan and include all relevant feedback from employees in their departments. The mandate of the implementation working group was to ensure that all the initiatives and activities to be completed were both realistic and achievable. After discussions, some timelines were increased by the CEO, where it was agreed that missing a deadline outweighed the risks to successful implementation. The CEO created a separate project team that centralised all the divisional projects and created one set of KPIs and a reporting scorecard that was used as a high-level monitoring document for the working group. In our second example, a multinational alcoholic beverages company acquired a large Australian milk and juice company with the same types of planned savings as part of their business case. As part of the merger, the Australian company was restructured immediately and most of their senior management left. The CEO of the parent company instructed the managing director of its Australian business to oversee the implementation. The managing director in turn delegated this task to the manager of operations. The manager of operations set up one-on-one meetings with the different department heads of the milk and juice company. At each meeting, a rough project plan was created between the two, and the divisional manager was then expected to go and implement that plan. The manager of operations stressed that head office had set very aggressive timeframes to implementation and that it was paramount that these were met. Updates of the progress of implementation were added as an agenda item in the monthly executive leadership team meetings. One risk item was added to the corporate risk register to be forwarded to the parent company as part of compliance requirements. At these meetings, initiatives were often further refined from a high-level discussion to more concrete actions. The recording of the meeting minutes was used as a central project plan. Divisional managers were then expected to communicate the updates to their own teams using their own communication methods. It is probably pretty obvious now which implementation scenario was likely to succeed and which wasn't. To recap, some key success factors to successful strategy implementation include implementation support through strong governance and decision making. Initiatives are clearly defined and include a risk management plan. Adequate resources and realistic timeframes for initiatives and actions. Projects have realistic and achievable outcomes. Project planning and monitoring is centrally managed. And employees can input into the implementation process. When these things are done, the chance of a successful implementation and employee support for the strategy is greatly increased. Unfortunately, there are many cases where the opposite happens.